What's up, man? How you doing? How you feeling?
What's going on? Good morning. How you doing?
Oh, dude, well, like I told you, I'm like exhausted. I'm exhausted. I like you am doing the dad thing, and so as you are well aware, sleep and rest and all of that is on short supply when you're in dad mode. So I appreciate you willing to be up. It's it's just after 9 a.m. Doing this sort of thing. So cool to have you on, and very cool also to be talking about this new track early. It's October when we're recording it, but this isn't even going to go up till December. And I'm pretty pumped, dude. I just listened to and put up a video. It actually went up today on Wither. And I feel like you guys are doing quite a lot of new things in this music. I hear like, I mean, you guys are no strangers to like ambience and black metal and aggression, but I feel like I hear a lot of that in like cranked to 11 so far. So I'm pumped to listen to this new track and to have your insights on it, because you're awesome. You're the guy actually screaming. So for this video, I always like to ask vocalists if there's anything I should expect, if there's anything I should know about the song, but they oftentimes make me go in blind. What can you tell me about this song? What to expect, these sorts of things?
With this song, I pushed myself pretty hard to do things I haven't really necessarily done with extreme vocals. I'll say that much.
Okay. Well, now I'm curious. Like, now are we talking like wider range? Are you talking more speed? Are you talking longer passages? What do you mean by pushing yourself harder?
Probably a little bit of all of that. I mean, I do sing a lot faster in this song. That was something I was trying to do with the whole new album, is try to push myself with my cadences and like my patterns and kind of that kind of stuff. I love when vocalists do fast vocals, and
sure, I've
kind of touched on it a little bit before, but with this one, I really wanted to like go above and beyond what I thought I could do.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm excited. Like I told you, I've heard a good chunk of this already, but it is always interesting hearing it with you. So that's basically the plan. Basically pause it and say like, hey man, what are you doing? Just for people's own information. Cause like I told you, I've had people ask me to cover Ov Sulfur before. And so this is technically the second video, but it's going to be kind of fun. So with that being said, I guess let's just, hold on. Why is this being goofy? Is this the right? Yeah, please swap out before video goes live. That's the right one. Perfect. So Vast Eternal Vision, yeah, that's what it's called.
A Vast Eternal, yeah.
Vast Eternal. Okay, cool. Vast Eternal, because it says Vision up here, and that's why I was version. Jesus Christ, don't worry. Don't, dude.
Edit that out.
Yeah. You know what, dude? I probably will, just because it's clunky, but I leave the vast majority of my fuck ups in my videos because for whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think it makes people comfortable too. But let's go ahead and let's not watch Vast Eternal Version. Let's just check out Vast Eternal. Here we go.
Here we go.
Jesus Christ, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's already a good place to pause. I love pausing in shitty spots where it's not a good point to pause because it kind of jars the viewer. So, okay, obviously, you weren't kidding when you're saying you're trying to do a lot of fast vocalization, you're trying to do a lot of like quick and open things. And I think one thing that I find the most interesting here, and that I'm curious to talk with you about, is obviously we'll talk about the source of the distortion, we'll talk about the way that it feels, we'll talk about all these things. But one of the main things I'm interested in is I'm interested in the way you're snapping between these different mouth shapes, the way that you're moving, because as you know, our mouth shape, our vocal tract shape is imperative to the way that we scream. And I know you worked a lot with David Benitez on your screams. I remember this one video. I saw a couple of them. I remember this one video where you like, I don't remember the details of it, but he's like telling you to go like tall with your mouth and like doing all this stuff with mouth shapes. And I both see and hear a lot of that. So I guess, if I think about what I just saw and heard from the perspective of one of my students or a viewer who's newer to vocals, my first thought would be, how the heck do you go so quickly between these different things? And is that difficult for you? Is it something that came naturally? Did it require a lot of training? Because it's impressive and highly acrobatic.
Thank you. What I had to work on a lot with my vocals is I guess easing into them and being comfortable without going too hard, you know what I mean? Like, because before I would just go full force and push into it, and I'd have no breath, I'd have no control, stuff like that. And with this song, for some reason, it just like I just laid it down as like the demo version and was just able to, I guess, pretty naturally go into the lower registers from the higher, and what I find when I do my high vocals is I try to do everything with a lisp.
That's one I've never heard before. Interesting. Tell me about that.
I try to the hiss sound on the end of every high vocal to me just kind of, I don't know, it makes it more crispy, I guess. I'm no vocal coach. Obviously I kind of learned the old school way, if you will, of just going in my car and driving around how we did back in the day.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
But that to me was something that I guess just kind of came. I had the idea of trying it, and my band calls them Ricky isms, where it seems like there are these parts that would be hard.
Sure.
And for some reason, I'm able to kind of just walk in and do them. And then the parts that should be easier for me are the parts that are harder for me, where it's like having to wait for the specific like length of the time to then do the vocal. It's like the faster parts are easier for me now. It's weird.
Sure. One thing that I'm curious about with those S's is like, as we talked about before I hit record, I'm not really like a production expert. See, I just said expert. See,
you did the list.
I did. It's in there now. Well, if you hear me do it on anything, I promise I didn't steal it. You planted it in there. I promise I didn't steal it. But one thing I'm thinking about from a production perspective is like cutting out those sibilants. Like, does that create a lot of extra work on like the de-esser, or like having to go through the EQ and be like, God damn it, all these S's. Jesus Christ.
I honestly have no idea.
Your producer just hates you. Like
maybe. I mean, we went to Josh Schrader for this, and he was really big on having me do a lot of different like sound, like shaping the different sounds with every line and word, and trying out different things like that and stuff. So
sure.
So I don't know if it's necessarily more work for him. I think he was just curious to see the different types of I guess different kinds of ways that I could shape the sound,
Yeah. And, I mean, he's a pro. He's like me. He would hear my question and be like, it's easy, you scrub. And I'd just be like, sorry, I'm sorry. I don't know. And, that's one thing that kind of builds into one of the things I noticed about your highs. And I've noticed this before because, I mean, obviously your voice has changed a lot. I remember walking around college and, rocking the old Suffocate albums and things like that back in the day, dude. But that's one thing I noticed about your highs, especially in this song, is that they are incredibly like chewy, like very, but they're also articulate, which is kind of an interesting intersection, right? Because when we think about really chewy vocals, oftentimes like we think about like this, like very slurry, but you're getting like that chewy forward brightness while also being articulate. Maybe throwing in those really succinct S's, those things are helping you achieve kind of both of those things. It's pretty cool. It also sounds like you've got some interesting nasality in certain parts. Do you tend to go like more of an, because you know, a lot of people they don't know you can go back and forth between the two. Do your highs tend to be like more open nasal cavity or like a more closed nasal cavity?
Probably the closed, but I do have moments where I'm able to, this happens a lot on tour actually. There's moments where I'm able to achieve that higher nasal spot, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and my highs actually get higher and smoother. It's kind of
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I don't do it purposely. It just kind of happens, I think, through playing every single night.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if that's a response to like that's not like fatigue, but a response to like
Could be.
it could be like it's been a long time since I played any sort of physical sport because your boy is unfortunately more sedentary than I'd like. But you know, well, I've found this when tracking or performing is that, you know, as I'm using those muscles, they sort of like find little ways to compensate to add like endurance and longevity. I wonder if that may be something that is as well. Well, I've got questions about your lows, but maybe let's keep going. And in fact, I forgot to do something very important. Especially for this video, I almost always do like a little bit of incense to keep like the evil spirits at bay. You know what I'm saying? And look at this creepy motherfucker staring at me. Like I gotta keep myself from getting demon possessed here, bro. Nah, I'm just kidding. So let's go ahead and keep going. And I think what I would like the viewers to listen to, you know, based on what we talked about. So if you're watching this and watching me struggle to light a piece of incense like a freaking loser, I want you to listen to those transitions because I think this is a really good example of sliding between different transitions. Well, anyway, I'll just let the viewer watch and I'll shush my mouth and we'll keep listening. Here we go. That was dope. So, you know, one thing that I think is really, I know I was going to talk about your lows, but you said you were working on, you really were focused a lot on cadences and patterns. And this is me just saying, hey, that was cool. And then inviting you to mention anything about it. But so we have the start of this song, which is, and then we have long drawn out sections. And I think where a lot of vocalists who maybe, are less experienced or don't think about their patterns, they would probably just go back into really, really fast. You know what I mean? And then just back and forth between fast and slow, back and forth between fast and slow. But you had this like little, I don't remember it, of course, because this is my second time hearing the section, but you had like it just speeded up a little bit, like these little hop skip patterns, right? And then building up into that long drawn out high, right? And I think that this is kind of cool because as harsh vocalists, we often can play the part of vocalist, but also kind of percussionist. Right. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of feels like, you know, like in a movie where the drums start going like, and like, oh, you're like, oh, the bad guys are coming. Like having that percussive nature, I feel builds up a lot of anticipation. And that paired with like the imagery of the video, like it very much like brings you into the song. So I guess I kind of just want to hear from you. It's a very open-ended question, but when it comes to cadences and patterns and things, I think that's honestly one of the most interesting things to talk about and to hear about, because everybody seems to have kind of like their own vibe. So talk to me when you're thinking about these patterns, when you're thinking about what you want to do to interact with a song. Are you just kind of like, hey, whatever sounds cool? Or do you have like some tools and strategies that you use to you know, come up with things that are interesting?
Well, you know, my band would probably have a few things to say about it. But when I'm trying to write patterns and vocals and stuff, I hate when things sound the same all the time. Mm-hmm. It really bugs me, and I hate when it's just like this steadily moving along, monotonous. I like to change it up and to do stuff like, I like how in a lot of other genres, I guess they change things up. I like how in hip hop and rap and stuff they'll do double time parts, or they'll do slower parts, or they'll do chorus part. You know what I mean? Like I think that
Hmm.
makes the music more interesting.
Yeah.
So I remember when I told my guys, I'm like, I want to do some cooler things than I've done before. And I did a little bit of fast stuff on the last one.
Hmm.
Um, but like, I want to do something different than I've done. I want to be able to be like, I guess, right on top of the beat and then a little bit before or after the beat, if you
Sure.
will, you know what I mean? Or
Oh yeah.
have bouncier parts. That's like that one part where I come in at the end there. That to me and Trader was kind of, I called it like it's like I'm pretty sure it was that one. Yeah, it was like a pirate, what do
Oh
they call
yeah.
it? The pirate, um,
I like a pirate pattern or a pirate like a
yeah,
shanty or
shanty.
something like
See,
that.
there you go. That's the
Shanty.
word.
Okay.
That's the part that so every time I hear that part now, I think like, you know.
Yeah. I can see it now. Like it doesn't sound like that in the moment, but now that you pointed out, like don't worry, I don't think anybody's listening to this and going, harsh, harsh, you know
I
what I
mean, they
mean?
might if they do cool. They'll get the same thing I thought. Whenever
Yeah.
I sing it or play it, like or whenever I practice it, that's the first thing that comes in my head is like Johnny Depp on the Black Pearl or whatever.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
No.
dude. I haven't seen those movies in a hot minute. It's been a long time. Well, that's cool. That's an interesting insight. And it's kind of fascinating to hear you say like, rap and hip hop and things because like having done a lot of these videos now, so many metal vocalists, at least if they're not like hip hop heads, they at least have like a respect for the craft. You know what I mean? Which is
Hmm.
interesting
Hmm.
because I remember back in the day, I think we're roughly around the same age. I'm 37. I don't know how old you are.
I'm 40,
40.
so
Okay,
pretty
yeah,
much.
pretty close.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, like rap and metal was like, like there was like for whatever reason, at least in my neck of the woods, they hated each other. And now, like, I don't
Super
know.
weird.
Yeah, I don't know a single metalhead who doesn't at least think that rap has something pretty cool to offer. You know what I mean?
I think
Um,
there's been a lot of crossovers, and there's been a
yeah,
lot of rappers who have used metal elements. I mean, come on, like all of our band, I think for the most part, all of us grew up on new metal as well as other things like
sure.
that. So we're all, I grew up listening to literally every type of music you can listen to for the
Hmm.
most part. So I like a little bit of everything from everywhere. And that's like our band, we try to pull influences and sounds from everywhere,
Sure.
you
Well,
know.
that opens up actually a really interesting question then, and one that I'm pretty fascinated with, which is like, what are some influences, maybe not even just vocally, but musically for you that people might not expect? Like one of my biggest influences is Sade. I don't sing like Sade. I'm not in a jazz band, but people tend to find that interesting. So who's an influence, or just maybe just any sort of interesting influence when you're writing these vocal patterns in these songs? Like, what are some things that come to mind from other artists?
I listen to a lot of softer music. So,
Sure.
a lot of those bands that are like, whether it's like pop punk or, I mean, whatever, I'm so bad with genres. I just listen to stuff that I think sounds good. I
Yeah.
don't really believe in hard genre lines. Uh, but like, to be honest, a lot of this, I listen to a band called Broadside a lot.
I've never heard of him.
And the singer does a lot of really cool, like poppy type of patterns that like are really ear catching.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how I wanted a lot of the patterns in this stuff to be, is just ear catching, and we write in pop structure, which it
Mm.
used to be a big no-no for metal, but now there's a reason, there's a science behind, like, music has science, there's a science behind pop structure. That's what gets
Hmm.
stuck in your head. There's a reason you do stuff and repeat stuff a certain amount of times and all that.
Sure.
So like that, and I'm a big classic rock guy. I'm a big like Motown guy, and like I
Oh,
love,
really?
yes,
Whoa,
yes,
dude,
and
interesting.
I love all that. Like I grew up listening to that stuff with my grandma. I grew up listening to like punk with my mom, as well as like classic rock with my dad, country with my uncle. So like I
Sure.
literally have a piece of pretty much every kind of music that I enjoy for the most part. And then I mean, I guess rap would more so be like my best friend Justin. He introduced me to it when we were in elementary school, more
Mm.
so. And I
Sure.
got really into stuff like that. And I really enjoy like the chopper style rap. And that's where a lot of me trying to do these faster patterns comes from, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, like Midwest choppers and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, like the Buster Rhymes with his really fast cadences and stuff like that. So, I guess a lot of my influences kind of come from everywhere, you know,
Sure.
especially with like the you know, the clean singing as they call it. I really like good big voices, you know, Aretha Franklin, Adele, you know, that kind of stuff. It you know, Howard Jones, obviously.
Of
So a
course.
lot of that kind of helps me and puts me in the direction of just wanting these to be memorable parts, I guess.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. And you know, you mentioned like these big voices, right? And I think that's a good way to describe a lot of what you do. I talk more about it in the video for Wither that's gone up today. It went up on a Tuesday, which is not when I usually post. So I'm a little like, oh man, should I have waited? But
I'm excited to watch that.
well,
That's
you know,
cool.
I hope I should have just waited and put it up the next Sunday, but I was excited to get it out. Sometimes when you post on a day that you don't normally post, YouTube's algorithm is like, to hell with you. You know what I mean? But it's a great video. If anybody watches this, you should go back and watch it. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because there's a lot of openness when you scream, right? And when you sing. In the Wither video, there are a lot, like, I can't remember the lyric, but you know, you pronounce things with like a lot of like
Yeah.
that, you know, and I think I talk about it in the video, but I call it, I didn't invent any of this stuff, but it kind of reminds me of like a princess yawn or like a princess sigh. Because if we like take a yawn like, oh, and then we remove the laryngeal drop, we get that big open sound. And I hear a lot of that when you sing and when you scream as well. Anyways, let's keep going. And then I'm going to force myself to ask you about some of these like lows and mids that you're doing, because they sound pretty cool. All right, let's keep going. Oh yeah, we're only 2 minutes. 6-minute song. I gotta pick up the pace, bro. I gotta stop being so curious. All right, here we go. Well, that's clearly a good pause point. And by that, I mean probably a pretty bad one. But okay, so I'm going to ask you about the lows and the mids now. And I'm going to, you know, and I don't know what your thoughts on this, but one of the most, I don't know if the word annoying is right. And I want to say one of the most annoying questions, but it's not an annoying, maybe just reductive, right? You see this a lot online, and you see this a lot on and you know, even like, you know, sometimes my students and stuff who are very new to vocals, they'll say, how does he do his lows, or how does he do his mids? And I'm like, well, especially when we're in the deathcore realm, like I feel like that's a bit overly simplistic to just point and be like, that's a false chord or that's a fry, you know. And a big part of this as well is that, you know, I was very lucky and very fortunate to be part of this vocal study that the Charismatic Voice is doing with like poking and prodding people and things for harsh vocals. And I got to hang out with Travis Ryan, and he and I can make very similar sounds, but when they scoped us, they were entirely different. Like we both can go like these types of things, right? But nose at throat, they don't look the same. So, you know, when I ask you, how do you do your mids and lows? I don't mean like, what's the one technique, but like, what's your approach? What are some of the sensations that you feel? Because lows and mids are where most people, not all, but most people start, right? And especially with that low, I'm interested, is there like a little bit of a sense of like light constriction at the top? Is it totally and completely open? Is there a feeling of buildup of air pressure? Just those sorts of like sensory things that you might feel.
Well, so those are more my mids in that part that we're talking about. The lows are actually the part that's coming next.
Okay. Well, sheesh.
No, I mean, I just those. So with a lot of these mids, I honestly just talk in those kind of. Where I try not to, because with me a lot of it is pressure versus like pushing versus too much push, that kind of stuff.
Of course.
So with these ones, like the more the black metal talking, low, mid, whatever you want to call it, like that stuff is more just I kind of get this vibration kind of right in my mid throat, I guess. Like I said, I'm no expert. I don't know all the technical terms and words and whatnot, and the muscles and everything. You're obviously more learned in that than I am. But a lot of that is me just like talking right in like this area right here. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, and I've kind of always more so been a fan of bigger open mouth shapes and bigger open sounds, because I think when it's open, it makes it more, you have more clarity.
Yeah.
And the sound kind of almost sounds a little bit I guess smoother, even if it's a coarse, like I call them rock dragging sounds.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Like especially further on when I do different sounds in the song. But to me, it's more of that. I messed up in a video and called it a rumble. It's more of a vibration in here. No pain or anything like that, obviously. It's just me getting those two spots to vibrate together.
Sure.
I guess.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I get like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you ever, because like oftentimes any instrumentalist, the bassist picks up the bass, and before they actually playing, they go dum 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 dum. You know what I mean? I know that for me, for a lot of like my lower tones, I have like they'll hit record, but you got your 8 counts, you've got your whatever.
Yeah.
And I do a little bit of like before I start leaning into it. Do you have anything that you do that you lean into the vocal from? Or are you more just kind of like warm up and then get going?
What I like to do is I start just breathing into the low. So
absolutely.
I'm a little dry right now, but that's kind of what I do. And I just progressively go lower, or, like that's how I kind of breathe into them when I do that kind of stuff.
And I saw a little bit of like
a lot of jaw.
Yeah. I saw like the tongue and like this kind of pushing forward as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I like to spread it over the bottom of my palate, I guess.
Yeah. And it sounds mean when you do that too. It gives it like this sort of like, I don't know if it'll, like, I heard it just fine, but sometimes I've noticed when I capture vocal, it like all gets muted. So if on YouTube land it got muted, go listen to the album. You can hear plenty of vocals. Go listen to the album. See, it was all part of the plan.
Come to a show.
But go to a show. Yeah, actually. I was like, this was a couple years ago, but I caught you guys live.
Oh, cool.
It was it was any show in Arizona is pretty much going to be Nile or the Underground almost every time. So it was at the Underground. It was all right. No, I'm kidding. It was fucking awesome. Yeah, I like that method of breathing into it, especially since, like, obviously I've heard you pitch scream many times, but a lot of the time when you're doing a lot of these vocals, there's it's not pitchless is kind of a slippery word, but it doesn't sound driven by as much as it sounds driven by rumble, right? And so breathing into it makes a lot of sense. Well, let's go ahead and let's hear some of these, because I thought we already heard lows, but apparently I'm an idiot, and we haven't even gotten as low as
you. I've heard your voice. You go low as fuck too,
dude. That I'll tell you that story sometime, but it was an accident. It was totally, and that's
nice.
One thing you mentioned is back in the day, like we were just driving around in our car doing whatever we did. And I will say that, obviously this is going to sound weird coming from me, someone who makes my living teaching people how to do vocals, and you who got a lot of benefit from working with a vocal coach. But I do think for a lot of younger students, people starting now, like there's a little bit of something lost from just like messing around. So I've really started working that into my like lessons where I get people screaming in songs and stuff a little earlier, and like
Nice.
And I try to tell people like there's a standard deviation for correct, like, and that's one of the joys of metal vocals. It's like, oh no, I curled my tongue sideways and my voice kind of cracked, but it sounded really cool. It's like, hell yeah. So I think
it's just fun.
It's just
supposed to be fun. Everybody gets so caught up on proper techniques and trying to sound like the popular people in these genres to where they forget the individuality and the fact that it's supposed to be fun.
It is supposed to be fun. And, I have 2 rules for my students, right? And they're not even rules. Like, one is you have to be safe. And I mean, if you don't want to, it's your voice, do whatever you want, but you have to be safe, and you have to sound cool to yourself and to anybody you're sharing it with. And that's really subjective. So let's go ahead and hear you sound cool with some of these like nasty vocals. Let's keep going. Here we go. So you saved a bunch of your stuff for the middle of the song, my friend. Mm-hmm. And so, like I told you, I heard this kind of before, but like you probably understand what it's like to listen to music with kids and stuff. You're like doing the dishes, and every 30 seconds you're like, yeah, bud. Yeah, bud. Uh-huh. Sure. Yes, You can go play outside. You know what I mean? And so this is, while I have heard it before, this is my first time like really fully like giving it my attention. And there are, dude, I don't think we can talk about all the stuff in there because there's a lot, and we're 30 minutes in. You know what I mean? But like, we were literally just like, yeah, a lot of these don't sound super driven by vocal cords, but then we have like these really nice sounding pitched screams where the true chord phonation and the distortion sound removed from each other, right? Which that's what we want to hear. That's what we're looking for. And then we have like this really interesting, like air flowy, but sludgy, like, I don't even know what you did, to be honest with you. I'll ask you about it. But there's so many things I have questions about. And unfortunately, I really gotta pee. I'm not gonna make it. I thought I could make it through the whole video, but I can't because I have sleep apnea, so I sleep with the mask, and so like by the time it's 9 a.m., I've had like 4 of these. So I'll cut this part out of the video. If you gotta pick your nose, if you gotta pick your nose or fart, now's the time. I won't leave it in, or maybe I will. All right, I'll be back in like a minute. All right, dude, I'm back. People are going to be like, how was it being on Kardavox Academy? It was so unprofessional. The guy was completely unprepared. So, like I mentioned, there is an insane amount of things. So rather than pick one thing, I kind of want to open it up to you. What do you think out of that? Because we've got the pitch screams. We've got the even lower screams than we've heard before. We've got the fucking slurry sled. Oh, F-bomb on a YouTube video. Sorry, algorithm. We've got like... There are so many. What do you think would be the most interesting to talk about that you think would be fascinating? Because there's so much meat here,
There's 2 lines I do. That's probably like, it almost sounds like a dual tone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's just me kind of splitting the sound with my tongue, I guess.
Okay, talk to me about that.
Well, I kind of mixed that almost with, I mean, everybody knows the tongue where you curl over the top of your mouth,
mm-hmm.
right?
Well,
I started doing this one where I take the tip of my tongue and I push it against the back of my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure a lot of other people do that too. I don't know where I just tried it one day, I guess. But with that one, I push my tongue against the tip of my teeth and then try to curl the sides at the same time.
Oh,
And
that's
from what I,
interesting.
yeah, dude, and from what, and I'm, obviously I'm trying to make the sound from a little bit lower, more
Uh-huh.
almost like in the chest kind of area.
Sure.
And with doing that, if you listen closely to it, it almost sounds like a dual tone vocal, at least to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I hear that part, um, that's what I hear and what I kind of envision myself doing is trying to do like that. But those are probably some of my favorite sounds I've ever made, as
Mm.
well as the really stout beginning lows. They're just open and it's like I'm opening my throat to do those, it sounds like. Or
Yeah.
feels like.
Stout is a good word. I've seen a lot of different tongue curls, right? Like this one's like you talked about the tongue up, very common.
Mhm,
Or
mhm.
here, I'll look at the webcam so dude, I've got the webcam, I've got the DSLR, I've got you over here and you over here, and so it's
Multitasking,
just
man.
everywhere. But we all know about this one, and a lot of
Mhm.
people do this one. You're the first person I've seen do like a mixture of like uh, uh,
Yeah.
that almost like
It's like a taco shape, but you want to make sure you really press the tip of your tongue up against the back of your bottom teeth.
what the hell?
I can't do it loud. I know I bumped the camera. My apologies.
Oh,
But
that's okay.
but yeah, it's like I don't even know if I can do it right now, but
No, you don't.
it's
It's
like
up to you, but
kind of.
yeah, but dude, I'm just struggling to because I can do this, but doing that kind of thing, I'm gonna
And
leave
then
that.
like
I'm gonna leave that to you.
I also found that when I'm doing these vocal, a lot of people have a tendency to close their mouths when they do these kind of vocals because they think constricting it's going to get a lower tone. And
Mhm.
some people it does, some people it doesn't, obviously. But what I find is when I do it, my mouth shape being open or closed doesn't necessarily dictate I don't know, the lower frequency. It's more so the amount of vibration in the area that I'm giving it from or sending
Interesting.
it from. But
Hmm.
what I did notice is when I do have an more open mouth shape, it
Hmm.
tends to be a lot more um like there's more percussive aspects to it, I
Sure.
guess.
Yeah.
And the projection seems to be clearer.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I mean that kind of makes sense too because you're moving more to articulate, right? And
Mhm.
when we have this big wide open space, we get a big wide open sound. You know what I mean? And it is interesting too because you're right, closed mouth, that is a pretty standard, pretty classic way to get lower tones. But really what we're looking for is we're looking for a big space for the sound to resonate and different ways to keep the sound in the mouth before it leaves. So when we're doing
Mhm.
stuff like this, the sound bounces underneath the tongue and then back and then underneath the tongue. It's still moving around a lot before it leaves. So it makes sense that it would work that way. Um, and then talk to me about one thing that's been really, I only see a very small slice of the vocal landscape, right? I don't see the whole thing. But one thing that's been getting really popular with people wanting to learn is any scream with pitch in it, which is so interesting because like 4 or 5 years ago, everybody was like, "Oh, I want to sound as inhuman as possible," and now people are like, "Oh, maybe I want to kind of sound a little bit more human." Like these vocal trends are interesting, and you know, it's my experience, teaching and doing. I do a ton of pitch screams. Is that, and you can tell me what your experience is. They are in many ways the easiest to do as far as just making the sound, but
Mhm.
the most difficult to do as far as like you really got to be supported and projected and aimed properly to not like lose that falsetto, versus you do it wrong and you're like, those
Mhm.
vocal cords are puffy. So talk to me about, and then it's also hard to like, it's easy to make the sound, but it's also hard to make it sound like dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So talk to me about basically your experience doing these pitch screams that you have here. Not the first ones I've heard from you, but they're certainly quite potent.
Um, I mean, everybody says not everybody has pitch, not everybody has perfect pitch and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, you know. I've had to like practice quite a lot,
Mm.
to be able to listen to stuff, whether it's trying to do things by ear, hearing it, trying to match pitch, which thankfully I've been able to get better at,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But a lot of that is just like my band and our producer just pushing me. Like whenever I go into the studio, I say, listen, if anybody has any opinions, any ideas, any input for anything, whether you think I can do something better or didn't sound good or you have a good idea, like all that, I'm one of those people when I go in that I want to be pushed to the edge of my limits to see what I can accomplish.
Sure.
You know, some people are very in their own way to where they don't want influence or help from anybody, and it has to be this way or this way or this way, blah blah. I'm
Yeah.
not like that at all. I like everybody to voice an opinion of what they think I can do. And through doing that, I've been able to learn these new things. And I'm not, you know, I'm an older guy. I'm 40, so I have to constantly practice and keep doing these things so I don't lose them.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Especially on tour. Tour is rough, man. People don't understand how hard stuff is on tour. You know, getting proper sleep or not getting proper sleep or doing this or doing that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it has an effect on your voice and you know, like you're not recovering enough because you can be the best singer in the world, but you're still going to have some kind of an effect on your vocal cords and your voice from performing,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And with the pitch streams, like I wasn't a fan at first of doing that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
really? Interesting. Wow.
I mean, yes and no, because I never really I'm probably the harshest critic to my own voice.
Yeah.
So I usually hate everything and think it sounds bad. And my guys have to be like, no, dude, like that actually sounded good. Keep
Mm-hmm.
going, get better. Like you can do better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my experience with them. They're awesome, but also equally frustrating.
You know, and you're actually saying a lot of things that I'm hoping some of my students are watching because like, you know, I've got a lot of students right now where it's boring for, well, not for me. For them, it's running scales, matching pitch, like
Perfect stuff to do.
yeah, sliding fifths, you know, you know, all these
Hmm.
things because it's gonna make especially pitch screams a lot easier because when we are doing pitch screams, we're bringing in any baggage we have from singing notes, right?
Hmm.
And it's clear that you're quite open and relaxed because you've worked on those types of things, right? And then also, you know, talking about how, you know, it's interesting. A lot of times when I talk, even if they're not my student, I just talk to anybody who's interested in vocals, who's not doing it professionally. I don't know where this came from, man. Maybe you have some insight in this, but they have this idea that you should be able to go from like zero to screaming your head off super pro and then back to completely no effect on your body whatsoever. And I'm just like, no, like you can do it without injury, you can do it without pain, you can do it without, but like, you know, it's like it's one of the analogies I use is like an Olympic deadlifter, right? They can have perfect form, but they're not going to deadlift for 45 minutes. Their back would explode, their legs would explode.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's just good to hear you say these things because I think a lot of the things that honestly, dude, when I talk with new vocalists, one of the things that stands in their way isn't their ability to do vocals, it's their expectations with what
Yep.
being a vocalist is. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So hearing you say that, I think is pretty insightful, and I'm glad that you're saying that because I think a lot of people will hear you being like, "Yeah, tour is hard," and they'll be like, "Oh, vocals are allowed to be hard, right? You can still be a master at things. You can still be a master at things, and then be, you know, then be kind of. What are some things you do? What are some things you do to because you're right on tour. There's not a lot of sleep. You're talking all the time. What are some things you do to keep your voice protected?
I mean, honestly, on tour, I probably sleep the least I do sleep is on tour. You know what I mean? Because I'm
Sure.
constantly getting up to work out before we play the shows, staying on my fitness. You know, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any kind of drugs, I don't party at all. So when we're on tour,
Hell yeah.
even if I'm not sleeping, I'm resting. I happen
Hmm.
to believe that your vocal cords, much like any other muscle in your body and your diaphragm and all these other things, they need recovery.
Absolutely.
So vocal rest, although people say it works, doesn't work for me. Vocal rest works very well. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I also do quite a bit of warm ups,
Hmm.
and I'm also doing things throughout the day as well, like talking in a higher pitch to
Interesting.
yeah, I'll talk in a higher pitch, kind of like this, a little bit, just to protect my voice. You know, um, I don't know exactly why it works. I'm sure David's told me before. I forget it. You know, I'm real bad at remembering the reasoning of things.
Hmm.
But from what I've found, for me, it does work. You know, and when I warm up, I do a couple different types of warm ups. I'll do a singing warm up where I go through
Hmm.
scales and runs and
Hmm.
big open notes and stuff like that. Or I'll do almost like, and I've done this since way back in the day. I'll do a scale of gutturals,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
starting lower and going up higher and going back down low and stuff like
Absolutely.
that. And I remember I'd be in the back of these venues doing that. And people be like, what is that? You know, and I'm out there doing the kind of sounds, you
Yeah.
know, and I happen to think screaming does have notes and pitch, even if it's not a pitch scream. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like there's still a note behind that guttural or that whatever, because that's where I'm making the sound from in my mind.
Hmm.
So I just do things like that, you know, and I drink a lot of water.
Hell yeah.
I've heard different arguments about water not really affecting vocal cords or water affecting vocal cords. I kind of just do what feels right for me.
Yeah.
Um, you know, like I said, I'm a big gym guy, so it's like a must. I drink like a gallon of water a day.
Nice.
So I don't know. Our bodies are made up of water, so why not give more water and help it?
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. People saying maybe what they mean is the water doesn't touch your vocal cords. That's true, but water is an imperative ingredient in your body, making the mucosal covering that protects the vocal cords.
There we go.
You know, so
Exactly.
yeah, drink your water. If anybody in the world tells you not to drink water, I don't know. This is weird.
Yeah, I mean, I drink a lot of carbonated drinks as well. It's weird. I think a lot of vocal coaches hate that I do this, but for some reason it works well for me.
Mm.
After we play, directly after we play, I drink a Coca-Cola. And I don't know why it helps, but for some reason the carbonation or maybe the thick syrup, it's usually sugar-free Coca-Colas because I don't drink sugar stuff. But
Sure.
after that, I feel right as rain. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Now it could be all you know, all what's the word? All in my mind or whatever. I forget the term for
A
drugs that don't actually work.
placebo,
Placebo
somatic.
effect,
Yeah, yeah, maybe,
maybe.
meh.
But you know what I've noticed is it helps. It helps get that Coca-Cola in after.
Yeah, maybe that tickly sensation. I don't know. Yeah, you know, a lot of that sort of stuff, man. I tell a lot of people, like, you know, as long as you're not like chugging whiskey or something, if it's water, if you're
Mhm.
being mindful of like the ingredients you're putting on your body, like you're saying, kind of do what works for you. I know for me, carbonated beverages wreck me if I'm going to be doing my vocals, but it's because I have really bad acid reflux. Yeah, and so the carbonation,
Oh.
yeah, the carbonation really irritates the acid reflux. And so that's another thing people have to kind of think about as well, right? Is like, yes, there are all of these studies that show like this thing is true, but also on an individual level, like homie might have really bad acid reflux or somebody might have really bad seasonal allergies. So things can be a little
Mhm.
bit different, right? Well, let's keep going. I'm excited. I'm excited to kind of hear where we're taking it. But yeah, tons of very cool stuff happening here. Let's hit play. That was a cool little fade out on the vocals there. That was pretty neat. One thing I love about your fast highs, I've only ever heard high vocals like this that have this effect a couple times, and maybe you'll know what I'm talking about. But like, imagine like holding like a really like a stick, right? That's got some like elasticity to it, and you're like, and it's got like that. The only other so I've heard that a little bit with Dickie Allen's highs, and then I can't remember the name of this band. The band, oh,
sweet, that's my boy.
Dude, like, there's this band, and the vocals are really fast, and there are a lot of highs, and it's all about like setting up your 401k and like yeah, it's like it's all about like setting up your 401k and like financial literacy and everything like that, and the vocals are
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool actually. It's a cool song, but it's also kind of funny, and just I love that like whipping, because you know a lot of different, and this is the thing that kind of, let me tell you what pisses me off. It does,
my dears,
dude. It doesn't bother me if people don't like a certain genre, but it does bother me when people say a genre all sounds the same. That's when I'm like, all right, get out of town, because like some vocal, like if we talk about like Adam Warren, Oceano, his vocals sound like tearing paper, like right,
nuts.
Your vocals have like this whippy, fast, like cutting the air sound. That doesn't sound anything like him. So when people are like, oh, just all these samey deathcore vocalists, I'm like, listen, you can just say you don't know what you're talking about. You can just say that. You don't have to go do all these extra steps, right? And so I think that your approach to like bringing these faster cadences has also brought some really interesting textures in your voice that I think are really fun to listen to. Obviously, I haven't heard the whole thing yet, but I'm really excited for the new album, because like it's cool when a vocalist has been around for a while and you're getting new textures, you're getting new colors, you're getting new tones and things like that. And then I love that like crowd moment. Like I know that like when you guys are on tour, you know, like I hope to see, like whenever I listen to songs like this, I'm like, I want to see those fists, but you know, I don't know if I'll hopefully I do if you guys come through. I don't know if you're coming through Arizona.
I think on the next, I think we're playing Nile on the next one.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think so. Us, Ingested, Distant, Cell, and Crucifixion. It's gonna be heavy tour. Heavy tour.
Yeah, that's gonna be thick, dude. I live almost an hour away with traffic from those venues, so I gotta really plan ahead. But I'd love to see this song and some other ones live. But yeah, that big chant moment, that's a smart way to end the song. You know, you're talking about making things memorable. That's a pretty good way to do it. Was that like, were you like, how strategic was that? Was that like this is a good like ending hook, or was it like, I don't know, this sounds cool?
Well, there's a funny story behind it. I don't know if I should give it away or not, because we all have these little moments that are like kind of like band jokes as to why we write parts or what they're from or this or that. So that part is actually taken from Creed.
So, okay, I'm gonna let you talk, but I had a question about this. Whenever you're ready, go
ahead. You know the fucking what if?
Oh my God, right? I do.
So basically just it worked with the line I had, and I was like, let's repeat it as a chant, if you will.
Yeah.
But I want to do it kind of in the vein of our version of Creed, of that Creed part. Because we all love, dude, we all love that whole style of, I guess, butt rock, dad rock, whatever. Like, I'm a huge fan of everything like that. Like, I'm just a fan of music in general. I like music, man. Like, I remember, you know, years ago when we were working on The Burden of Faith with my buddy Morgoth, Michael Montoya. Him and I were going back and forth, and he was telling me, he's like, there is no bad music. And I was like, well, what do you mean there's no bad music? He's like, if someone listens to it and likes it, it's not bad music. And I found that to be really insightful, because honestly, like, most of the stuff I listen to, people would call bad music because, you know, but I love it. There's a whole world of music, right? So even if you think something's terrible, to someone somewhere, it could be amazing. So with that being said, I was like, I love Creed. I grew up listening to Creed. It was in my mom's car every time I took it, you know, every time I would go driving anywhere or whatever. Scott Stapp's incredible. I don't care what anybody says. So, you know, let's put a Creed part in there
Sure.
and see if anybody notices. And now that we're giving it away, I'm sure now people will know. But like every time we do that part in the song or hear that part or whatever, I just think of, you know, fucking Scott Stapp and whatnot. So
dude, it's interesting you say that, because I'd actually kind of forgot. So when I got the email about the song, because Nikki reached out to me, and like the little write-up, it says like there's a Creed inspired part, and I couldn't find it. And I kind of forgot. And then you mentioned it just now, and I was like, I was going to ask about that. But I totally see what you're talking about now. And that's cool. That's cool that you did that, because like I am a lover of black metal. I love black metal. I love black metal that sounds like it was recorded with a potato wrapped in tinfoil in a cave.
Probably was. On a little, you know.
Yeah. And so
the worse the recording, the better the band.
When you say like, you know, I listen to a lot of music that people would consider bad. Like, I feel that, dude. I feel another thing, you know, another thing, this one kind of surprised me sometimes, but I love Metallica. I think Metallica's awesome. And a lot of times when I'm around other people, are like, oh, Metallica. And I'm like, they'll be like, those Kirk Hammett solos are terrible. And I'm like, I like them. What are you talking about? Like, I think they're really good. So I know what you mean. It's cool that you did that. It's cool that you stuck something in there that you love, kind of like to hell with, you know, what other people say about Creed or any of these other things. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I have a, you know, like I'm kind of to the point of where I'm so tired of people wanting to put these hard lines or these, you know, or pigeonholing music.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do this, you can't do that. Oh, it's not this because it's not that. It's dude, it's music. I make music because I enjoy making music. I make music that I enjoy, that my band enjoys. So to me, I don't have rules for music.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. If I like it, I'm gonna do it. And if you don't like it, then that's cool. You can go listen to bands who don't do it. You know, like my band has been putting clean vocals in since our very first song. And for some reason, people still don't seem to get that we're gonna put clean vocals in if we want to. You know, this one doesn't have any clean vocals because we wanted to make one that didn't. But you know, we enjoy doing that, so we're gonna make that. And I make music for me as well as, you know, for the people who like it to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I guess that's my hot take on singing and deathcore. But
it's an interesting thing for people to be. Are people still spicy about it now? I mean, obviously, like, listen, the Wither video I put up, you have to do kind of like a YouTube title because YouTube is stupid. But like, that's interesting that people are still spicy about that, because I feel like, I mean, yeah, you guys been doing it for, I feel like it's not like that crazy now. Like, maybe not the norm, maybe not everybody does it, but like, I feel like hearing a deathcore song with some cleans in it is not like that but you know,
no, a lot of people do it, dude.
Yeah,
a lot of people do it. And also, this is what's so weird and interesting about the deathcore community. And don't get me wrong, like, deathcore has been my base for a very long time. I still listen to death, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very big part of my life. But for the entire, I think deathcore has been around, what, a little over 20 years now, maybe a little bit longer. And deathcore, yeah, right. And remember back in the day, and deathcore has been universally hated by the mainstream of metal, right? Because it was the new kid in town, and they're like, oh, it's deathcore, it's blah 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 blah, you know, this that. And now deathcore is bigger than ever. But it's funny because the deathcore world, or the deathcore scene, is now kind of doing the same thing that every other type of metal did to deathcore when it first came. They're wanting to put these rules and say, oh, this isn't deathcore, this isn't, or that's garbage because this is not. It's like, you're doing the same thing that death metal did to deathcore, or you're doing the same thing that all these other metal genres did to deathcore. So you're now essentially becoming what was trying to keep your genre down, you know, by putting these stupid rules on things. And you know, so that's why when people ask, like, I just say we're a metal band.
Sure.
You know, like, that's it. You know, not that I don't get me wrong. Like I said, I love deathcore. Like, that is everything I've done, you know, has been in deathcore, right? But at the same time, man, like, music is progression, and why am I going to pigeonhole myself?
I mean, and if you did, man, there would be people being like, oh, he's a bad vocalist, he doesn't change, he doesn't adapt. So you like, it's like one of those situations where like you have to do exactly what you're doing, which is you just make stuff that you like. You make stuff that you enjoy, because you can't, I tend to think, and this is just my experience, but I have met far more awesome people in the metal world than not awesome people. But there will always be a small subset of people who just suck, and you're never gonna please them. You're never gonna make them happy. And so if you make music that you love, I think that being genuine, one of the things after this video, I'm going to make another video today, and it's going to be like this open discussion type thing with just me talking at the camera, but like what makes a good deathcore vocalist? And to be honest, I have no idea. Cause like, what is good? Like we just talked about how stuff we think is good, other people think is bad. But I think one of the main things is obviously, technical prowess and agility. But I think about another one of these things is like being genuine. Cause if you weren't being genuine to what you wanted to do, we wouldn't have had this cool like stick whipping sound. We wouldn't have had the cool like Creed influenced chant. So I think for me, and this is not just deathcore, but a very important thing is just being genuine. And when you're genuine, you get a lot of cool stuff like we're hearing in this song. You know what I mean?
Dang. Get to go on a cool video and analyze your song. You know what I mean?
There you go. Wow. We just brought that back so expertly. Look at us, dude. Yeah. That was crazy. Bringing it all, landing that plane. Well, we can follow that momentum, man, because there's so much more we talk about, but we're just at about an hour, and I know you're busy. Oh, wow. I'm busy. Yeah, these usually go kind of a long time because they just get kind of fun. But I know that y'all have tour coming up soon. You got new music coming up soon. You've been around for, you've been doing vocals for longer than me. Longer than me.
I started singing in my first band in probably like 2006.
Dude, that's way longer than me. That's I started being serious about it. I was messing around in 2006 and 7, but I went to like a tiny little like Christian high school, and so it was me like huddled, like I don't want to get in trouble, just doing silly. It doesn't really count. But I started being like serious about it probably in 2010, 2011.
Nice.
Yeah, and I forgot. Oh yeah, the reason I say this is because there are always new people. Like one of my favorite things is when I get a new student and they're like 16, 17, and they're like, dude, I just found this really cool band. They're called Whitechapel, and I'm like, hell yeah, brother. And I get to like show them these things. So for these people who are there are always people just getting into the metal world who, what are some. I'm gonna land this plane. My brain is having trouble formulating this question because I'm just kind of having a good time. What are some words of advice you have for people who are just getting into this metal thing? They love it. They want to do vocals. They want to be a musician. What are some things that you think are worth them hearing?
I'll say this from personal experience. Don't get caught up in the pursuit of success.
Yeah,
because that's going to stifle anything that you do accomplish. When I was in Suffocate, I was constantly wanting to do more and more and more and more, and comparing us to other bands. And what I found was I didn't ever step back and enjoy where I was at or what I was doing. I was touring the world. I got to I toured Russia. I toured all over Europe. Like, I did some incredible things, but to me, it was not enough. It was never enough. And I guess that's where I'm saying, don't get lost in that pursuit of success, because you're going to look back and be like, dang, I wish I would have enjoyed where I was at. Now, with this band of Sulfur now, I still have that a little bit because, you want to do better and stuff. But my wife keeps me very grounded, thankfully. I'm very fortunate to have her. And she says, like, look what you're doing. And because I almost quit this band in the beginning because of some stuff with prior members and stuff like that. And I woke up one morning to quit, and my wife said, you can't quit. Your music means too much to people. And this was after a tour where a girl came up to me and sobbed in my arms. I was hugging her because she needed it. She sobbed in my arms for like 15 minutes because of an album I wrote. My last album was Suffocate that I wrote. It was all about suicide and stuff, because I was at the time. and she said that that record saved her life, and that she still has those thoughts and stuff, but like a lot of the things I say and our words and stuff, even with the sulfur, kind of help her stick around for her son.
Mm,
And my wife, I told my wife that as soon as it happened, and she said, "You can't stop doing this because it matters to these people." So I would say to these people wanting to get into it, enjoy it and give it your all, but don't get caught up on where it can take you. Just enjoy the ride.
dude, I I think that's very, very valuable. And I agree because, like, earlier you said this should be fun. And one of the best ways to destroy what you love is to turn it into a business. There have been times,
Yeah.
with this whole vocal coaching thing, there have been times when like the burnout is real and I'm like, man, I do not want to think about harsh vocals ever again for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But it's important. My wife is very similar. She keeps me in check. She'll be like, Mark, do you actually hate harsh vocals, or do you just have a lot of work to do that you have put off doing and you're behind? And I'm like, I'm behind. And she's like, there it is, buddy. And then sure enough, I get caught up, and I'm so thankful to be here, and I'm so
Yeah.
thankful to do these things and to have met the people I meet. And so, with that, man, I think that's really good advice. I really appreciate you making the time to hop on and do one of these videos and, just kind of be open and vulnerable with your process and everything like that. So yeah, anything that people new album releases, dates, tours, all that stuff, things you're allowed to talk about, because I know some that's
Yeah, I got some stuff I can't talk about yet, but the album comes out on the 16th, if I'm not mistaken. Like I
Mhm.
said, I'm so bad with dates and stuff. We got the tour coming up. It starts November 6th with Ingested, Distant, Cell, and Crucifixion.
Mm.
And then yeah, more to be announced, but definitely going to be busy this upcoming year. So
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well,
yeah.
thank you for hopping on. I greatly appreciate it. And to all of you watching, many thanks, much love. We're out.